US urges Latin American countries to ditch Russian weapons and donate them to Ukraine.
Here's a summary of the article.
US urges Latin American countries to ditch Russian weapons and donate them to Ukraine. The United States is reportedly looking at a deal to facilitate the switch of Soviet and Russian weapons in Latin American countries to US weapons as a way to encourage them to send military equipment to Ukraine. According to the head of the US Southern Command, General Laura Richardson, the US asked 6 Latin American countries to ditch their Russian weapons and donate them to Ukraine. The Voice of America reported that the US wants these countries to transfer their Soviet and Russian weapons to Ukraine and in return would be offered American military equipment in exchange. The US is trying to persuade these 6 countries to donate Russian military equipment to Ukraine and replace it with American weapons, the US military said at a meeting of the North Atlantic Treaty Organization. The news outlet also reported that in addition to Moscow's main allies in Latin America, Venezuela, Cuba and Nicaragua, other countries, such as Mexico, Peru, Argentina, Colombia, and Brazil, also have Russian or Soviet weapons. We are working to replace these Russian weapons with American ones if those countries want to transfer them to Ukraine, General Richardson said.
This post received a score of 5800, with an upvote ratio of 95%. Here are the top comments in response to this article.
That AK with the drum and suppressor looks pretty fun NGL.
I watched a video on how to load an AK drum magazine, it looked like a hell of a lot of effort for the results. You don't just push them in from the top one at a time like a regular magazine. You have to remove the back and load them in from behind in a way that seemed a little tedious.
They make a top-landing Romanian AK drum magazine that's top tier. Latin America. Ah ha 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 ba ha 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 no.
Ja 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 ja.
They're too preoccupied with their own issues.
Greater than. The US is trying to persuade these 6 countries to donate Russian military equipment to Ukraine and replace it with American weapons. The US military said at a meeting of the North Atlantic Treaty Organization. Will the US give the weapons? Or they want Latin America to spend money? Would the military equipment come with strings attached? If it includes tech, will it be modded? Kind of like how US modified the Honestly. I understand what US is trying to do, but when it comes to Latin America, US isn't really that trustworthy either, and it also isn't in Latin America's best interests to end up only relying on US.
Here, have a free vehicle if you want parts for it, we are the only supplier.
I mean, that's standard. If you buy Russian T-90 tanks, where do you think the main source of parts come from?
Chinese tank parts that happen to be spec'd the same.
Latin America countries to trust US? Lol, they would be crazy to do that because of what happened here because of us.
Look, we promise not to cause any more coups in Latin America for a while, we swear.
Meanwhile in Peru, Brazil, Venezuela, Nicaragua, etc.
I mean, yeah, take an industry away from them, but also lol buy ours.
Hell, offer it to your own people. I know some people who would be willing to trade in their old AKs for nice new legal M16s.
I like the sound of that.
Imagine that.
The US invaded a Latin American country just as recently as 1989. Why the hell would they listen?
So they can buy new US-made weapons? Who saw that coming?
After everything US did to Latin America, why should they accept a deal that bond your country's security to US?
Follow-up story in 6 months' time. US secures record arms deals with Latin American countries.
Lol, US has fucked Latin America way more than Russia has to them. Why would they trust anything the US says?
It's just because of proximity, honestly. I don't get all the people here thinking that small arms, which is what this deal would involve, being US-made is going to somehow change the dynamic of US-Latin relationships. The US already has all the power in the world to fuck with us if they want to.
This video was automatically created by Reddit to speech. The article and comments in this video were selected from Reddit according to their upvotes, and any paraphrasing was performed by smmry.com, without any human intervention.